Hey guys, it's Trina. I have finished another 5 audiobooks, so I'm going to be reviewing those for you today. In this video, I am only going to be talking about the narration of the audiobooks. I do review things like the story, the writing, the characters in my book reviews and wrap-ups. I know I said I finished 5 audiobooks, but actually in this video, I DNF'd 2 of the 5 I'm going to be talking about, but I still want to talk about them because the narration played a huge part in why I did not finish those audiobooks, so I still want to talk about them and tell you guys what it was I was not liking about that narration. And by the way, there are timestamps in the description of this video in case you want to jump straight to one of these audiobook reviews or skip over one. The first audiobook that I'm reviewing in this video is Famous in Love by Rebecca Serle. This is a YA contemporary story about a girl who is in high school. She's in her drama class. She wants to be an actress and she decides to go and audition in this open casting call for the lead role in this huge book to movie adaptation, and she ends up landing the lead role in that movie. And so overnight she's already famous because this book series has a ton of followers. Like, there's a huge fandom. She's just got all these expectations to play this very popular book character on her shoulders. This audiobook was narrated by Tara Sands, and my impressions of the narration were that at first I just had a hard time with this narration. I felt like her voice had this kind of a nasally, whiny quality to it, and it made our main character feel very snobby, like she was just above everything. And that's not the impression that I was getting from this character, because she's just this normal, ordinary high school girl, like, from obscurity. But then I started to wonder if that was maybe just how that narrator sounds. Like, maybe that's just her voice. So I went and listened to some samples of other audiobooks that she has narrated, and I noticed that same quality in the other books that she's done. So I do think that's just Tara Sands' voice, and so I don't want to criticize someone for their voice because you can't really help, for the most part, what you sound like. But after a while, I will say that I did kind of just like quit noticing it, and I got to a point in this audiobook that I was hooked and I didn't want to do anything else but just listen to this audiobook. So I did have a lot of fun with the story. And as far as if there were any formatting differences between the print format and the audio format of Famous in Love, I did have the print format checked out from my library for a little while and I was able to flip through it. And it's just a basic, straightforward, like, chapter number at the top of each chapter and then regular text. So there was no fancy formatting in the print book, and I don't think that you would be missing out on anything no matter which format that you choose to read this story in. So I don't really have a preference, but I know that I did have a lot of fun with this audiobook. The next audiobook that I have recently listened to is Waking Gods by Sylvain Neuvel. This is the second book in the Themis Files series, which is an adult science fiction series. This is about these characters who have uncovered these strange statues that have been buried all over the world, and when they look at them they realize that they're kind of body parts, and they put them together and it forms this one large humanoid statue, but it's not quite human. So they're trying to figure out, if it's not human, what is it? Where did it come from? What does it do? This audiobook was narrated by a full cast of actors. There's not background music or sound effects or anything like that in these audiobooks, but I thought that all of the voice actors they really embodied their characters and they brought this to life, and I felt like all of them are giving a good emotional performance as well, and just having them there to react off of each other, it just brought this story to life so well. I just love these audiobooks so much. They are amazing. The story works so well in audio format because the way that the book is written is like completely in dialogue. There is a little bit of formatting to the books, but it is nothing like over the top. So like maybe you have some bold text versus regular text, or maybe the font is not aligned in like traditional strict paragraphs. But the print books aren't so formatted that if you choose the audio version you're missing out on part of the story. Between the two options, I 100% would recommend the audiobooks for this series if you have that option. The third audiobook that I want to talk about is one of the ones that I DNF'd. I DNF'd this audio format and the book itself. Like, I just did not continue reading this book because I was no longer interested, and that is The Chemist by Stephenie Meyer. This is an adult, I think it's a thriller novel about a woman who used to work for the government. She knows these secrets and this information that has caused her to go on the run. The narrator of this audiobook was Ellen Archer, and the reason I did not like this story at all was in part because of the narration and in part because of the writing. First of all, the narrator was dull, flat, monotonous, boring. I just couldn't get anything, any personality out of her or the character that she was reading about. And second of all, she was not helped out at all by the writing, because this book, at least the first 56 pages of it, was one massive info dump. I have no idea who this character is, who she's running from, what information she has, but I can tell you in great detail how many wigs she has and how many outfit changes throughout the day she has in order to not be caught on the certain closed circuit surveillance system. The book did not give me anything to care about. And so I'm not interested in this anymore. I don't have time for it when it's dull to listen to and info dumpy to read. So no thanks, not for me. But the section of the book that I did read had no formatting differences between the print and the audio. So if you're wondering which version to pick up, I don't think there's really going to be a difference, but I would not recommend the audio because I just found it dull and lifeless. The next audiobook that I tried was The Serle by Dave Eggers. This is an adult science fiction book where social media is taking over the world. You're following this one character that goes to work for like this next big social media company, and just throughout the course of the work they just keep like overreaching and taking over more and more of everything and like seeping into the government. And it's definitely a dystopian story, and it has a lot of classic dystopian elements. This audiobook was narrated by Dion Graham, and I hated the narration. I hated this as an audiobook. It was not at all for me. The narration was overly peppy. It felt very fake and forced, and like every single sentence that this guy read felt like it could have ended with an exclamation point, or like it should have ended with the word wow right after it. It was May's first day at work. Wow. She walked into this building that had expansive windows. Wow. Then she met with her friend Annie. Oh my gosh. And then Annie introduced her to where her other coworkers were and where she would sit throughout the day. Oh my goodness. Like, it was just so overly, wow, I'm astonished at every single thing that is happening. I also did not enjoy his voicing of the female characters, and this is a story who the main character is female. I did not like this particular narrator's job with the standard narration or with the voicing. So I quit this audiobook around 30 pages in. I think that was how far it was in the book, and I switched to the book, and I found that the book was just much easier for me to read. My mental images of how this character was and how she would react to things and how her voice was just suited the story a lot better than what I was getting from this audiobook. So if you have a choice of listening to the audio or reading the print version, I think print was better, and I thought that there were no differences between the formats because the book was just straightforward text again. And the last audiobook that I have recently finished that I will be talking about today was Fireworks by Cotugno. This is a YA contemporary story, but it's set in the 90s, and it is about these two best friends who have just graduated high school. They're from a really small town. They just want to get out of it, and one of them wants to go and audition for this new girl group that is being put together. Like, it's going to be the next big thing in pop music in the 90s, so if you like 90s girl groups and boy bands vibes, I think that you would really enjoy this book. This audiobook was narrated by Ellen Spencer, and I didn't have a lot of notes on the audio of this one because it was pretty fine. Like, nothing was bad. I thought that her voicing was good. I thought that her narration was good. The only real note that I had here was that I enjoyed that the narrator read this in a very subtle southern accent because these girls were from a southern small town originally. I actually have not had a chance to look at the print version of Fireworks yet, so I'm actually not sure if there was any special formatting in the print book, so I don't know if there were any differences there, but I did enjoy the audiobook, so I would recommend that version if you have the option. So that was this batch of audiobook reviews. I hope that they have been helpful and maybe helping you find a new audiobook to pick up. My favorite of these 5 undoubtedly was Waking Gods by Sylvain Neuvel. Like, I'm just a nerd for that series. If I was just going to recommend one, it would definitely be that one. I would love to know what audiobooks you guys have recently listened to and loved, so if you have any that you think I might like, definitely leave me those recommendations down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the comments. Bye!